This is BJJHOOD, tapping into Jiu Jitsu lives on and off the mats.
Hello, we are back. This is the BJJHOOD Podcast. I'm Babby, your host.
And I'm Shay, your co-host.
This first month of 2024, we're talking about things that you can do to improve your jiu-jitsu game, not only on the mats, but also outside the mats. So stay with us that you can hear a lot of really good interviews here. Don't forget to follow us on YouTube. This episode is going to be in English, but we have subtitles in Portuguese on YouTube and Spotify. So make sure you follow us there and you don't miss any of the interviews. Follow us on Instagram. There's where we post who are going to be our next guests, some snippets of the interview. So make sure you follow us there too. And of course, on your favorite podcast platform, so you don't miss the episodes too. We are on Spotify, Apple Podcast, on YouTube again. So we're everywhere. Don't forget your support. It's really important for us. So share this episode, comment, like. If you have any questions, just drop them either on YouTube or on Spotify or even on Instagram. You can send us a DM too. We are everywhere as BJJHOOD Podcast. Today we're talking to Heather Woods. She's a black belt under André Galvão with a lot of great competition results and experience. She has an online coaching program that includes nutrition, jiu-jitsu strategy, and game analysis, strength and conditional, as well as mental health. Heather, welcome to the BJJHOOD Podcast. I'll let you introduce yourself. Thank you so much for taking the time today to talk to us.
Hi, ladies. Hi, everyone. I'm Heather Woods, and nice to meet you all. And nice to meet you, ladies. Like we just talked about, it's our first time meeting each other, so it's always cool to meet really strong women in the community. I know you guys you're both training a lot. I kind of stalked your Instagrams and been training for a while. And yeah, thank you for having me today.
Of course.
All right,
nice meeting you. I wanted to start asking you about your jiu-jitsu history. Like, how did you start training? Who brought you to jiu-jitsu? Like, what's your story?
Okay, so to make the long history short,
not too short.
Okay. I was living in Los Angeles, California. And as a kid, I had done karate. My mom is a taekwondo master, and I hated it. I always wanted to do judo, but she told me it's like 20 minutes from the house. It's too far, this and that. So I always really liked more combat sports, but I wanted something like a little more than just doing forms. I did like the sparring in karate. And then, so when I moved to LA, I lived with two MMA fighters, and I was always doing their classes, like some Muay Thai, some pad classes, some cardio kickboxing. So any class that they were teaching, I was doing for free. So I was trying to be into fitness, into combat sports. And then when I was 25, I sold everything and I started traveling and doing jiu-jitsu. The first time I did jiu-jitsu was in a gi, was in Brazil, in X-Gym in Recreio. At the time the professor was Silvio Bering and Jan Bering. And Paloma Schultz was the fiance of Jan at the time. And so they were my first professors. I did a little grappling in Argentina before and took one class in Uruguay before this. I was trying new things because the guys wouldn't play soccer with me. And they were like, oh, you're a girl, you can't be on our team. And so I started there. I was there for 3 months, and I bought a gi, and I started to continue what I had paid for this tour of my life savings. And oh my gosh, I told when I started, so I think I gave away my age as well. But no. Then I went to, let's see, where did I go? Miami. I went to the south of France. I trained in the south of France in a Tropa de Elite. I trained in London. I went to Carlson Gracie. I went in Portugal. I forgot the name. I think his name was I forgot the name. I was there for a couple of weeks as well. And then oh my goodness, I went back to Idaho, my parents' city. I trained there for a little while. I continued. I went back to Brazil. I went to be a nanny for a friend, and I trained in Maceió. Then I went to Rio, and then I came back to San Diego. I trained in San Diego a little bit. That was before I trained in Atos. I had trained at Ribeiro with Shanji and Salo. Then I went to Australia. I trained in Absolute MMA with Olivia Giles, Lachlan Giles. At the time was, who was there? Kid Dale, Craig Jones, Lockie Warren. There was some really good guys there, some really good training. And I didn't like no-gi at the time. What a waste, right?
Yeah.
And I came back to San Diego, I went back to Idaho. I trained there. I got my purple belt in it was like the hometown gym. And then I was there only like 6 months. And I went to Atos, and I joined Atos, and I was there for 4 years. And I got my brown and black from Galvao. I learned how to be a competitor. I learned tools you need to compete. A lot of things they don't tell you anywhere else. They just tell you, train more, train more. And then since then, I've just kind of been traveling around and trying to figure out where I want to call home the last 2 years.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Wow.
How was that?
So how long? Sorry.
Yeah, go for it.
Like, how long did you move around like that? I mean, it was a long time, it sounds like.
It was like 6 years before I came to Atos.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yes, I
How
think.
fun.
Yeah.
That's your dream, Babby.
It's my dream, yes. And that's what I was going to ask you, like, how was it training at so many different gyms? Because I tell Shay all the time, and my husband is totally like, we're never doing this. Maybe when we retire. But I'm like, I want to buy a van or something. And for 1 year, just 1 year, I just wanted to travel around the U.S. We didn't even have to go to a different country right now. Just like visit different gyms, maybe like teach seminars as we go, but like have that experience to be out there and just train with like different people and meet different people at different gyms. So tell me, like, how did it feel like? I know there's the downside too, probably to it. But the pros and cons on traveling so much and like knowing different people and going to different gyms.
So I think the biggest like con right off the bat was I wish I had kind of been in one place in the beginning for like a solid year so I could build a really good base.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like until I got to Atos, my jiu-jitsu was very choppy because this professor wanted it to be this way, and this professor wanted these fundamentals, and this professor wanted me to be like this, and everyone wanted me to be something. And I thought like this might have been a better trip if I had started traveling, like let's say I had maybe stayed in Idaho or San Diego for like a solid 1 or 2 years to build a base into like a really good blue belt and then start traveling. I felt like I kind of knew a lot of things from different places instead of like a consistent like, like upgrade in my jiu-jitsu, if that makes sense. So I think that was the con. The best part is I really feel like in those lower belts, people are very welcoming. They always want to kind of mold you, so they're very helpful. I feel like I met really amazing people, friends that I'll have the rest of my life. One of my best friends, Larissa, I'm waiting for her to learn to play guard because she's been a white belt since I've been a blue belt.
Oh my God.
And I want to give her blue belt. I'm just waiting for her to like, she only passed. And she's not consistent. She does it like it's her hobby, but she's my best friend in the whole world, and a lot of amazing women, a lot of amazing people. Oh man, I think it was just a really good experience, but also really difficult. And I wish that I had a little bit of like maybe a nomad job, like something online to have some income, because I was always teaching kids class, working in a restaurant, working in a bar, teaching English, like being a nanny, doing little jobs all the time. I think for at least 10 years of jiu-jitsu, I was waking up at 6 a.m. and going to bed at 11, constantly training, lifting, working, not breathing, not resting.
Doing all the things, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So I wish I had a little bit of a better, I guess that's to the con. It's like, yes, if you go now with your husband, you can teach seminars, you guys can. But in a lower belt, obviously white and blue, you can't really teach much of anything. So you can't make money. So it was good, bad, but was definitely interesting. Character building, we'll say.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
How does one climb like the ranks going to different like studios?
That was super hard. That was really hard because like I'd said before, I felt each professor wanted to have like their type of jiu-jitsu or the thing that they did. And I felt that I could never make everyone happy, and I didn't exactly know where I needed to be or what I needed to do to get to belts. So I was blue for 4 years. I felt that was a little too long, especially at the age that I had. If it were a teenager or someone who was not consistent, but I was training twice a day more, and I was winning everything. I didn't win worlds, but in blue I won Abu Dhabi Grand Slam and my division and absolute. I won so many titles in Brazil, local tournaments, bigger tournaments, opens, a lot of stuff. Yeah. I won Rio Open. I got, I think, 3 gold medals in Rio Open and blue belts. So I was winning a lot, but I don't think I belonged to anyone. So no one was promoting me, which was really hard.
Yeah.
So when I went back to Idaho, one of my professors there was like, this is bullshit. Like, you're a purple belt.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It had been about 6 years. So it took me a while.
Yeah. Another question that I had was like, we know how hard it is to be a woman and be traveling around. From what I understood, you had friends everywhere you went, or no? And like, how was it for you as a woman to travel to all those places? And also, how was when you got to the gyms? Like, were they really receptive? Did you face anything kind of like weird, any weird vibes somewhere that you didn't feel comfortable? Because that's a thing also that a lot of women complain about when they go into a jiu-jitsu gym, and if they don't know people there, they don't feel comfortable, especially if it's a gym mainly with men. Did you had any experience like that?
Actually, to be honest, I think that, like ignorance is bliss in that way. Is in the beginning, like my 2 roommates in LA, the MMA fighters, they're like, be careful of jiu-jitsu guys, be careful of this guy, be careful of this guy, and they kind of pre-warned me. So I always kind of had like a wall. I actually got called a lesbian a lot. There's nothing wrong with being gay. Everyone who's gay is awesome, but I'm not gay. But I got called a lesbian a lot because they would be like, oh, Heather has like this wall with us, but is really friendly with the girls. I was cautious, but again, I feel now that I know so much, I feel more nervous walking into a gym as a black belt than I did as a white, blue, purple. Brown, I wasn't traveling too much. I was more teaching seminars or competing. I was very like in the gym, in my business, in the gym, in my business, and like not really having a lot to travel. But in the first 3 belts, for sure, I feel confident walking in a room. I now feel a little bit more insecure because I feel somewhat I have a target on my back. And I've been like people have purposely injured me. I feel like maybe trying to prove something or something, especially in brown and black belts. So now I'm a lot more cautious. I feel only in the beginning belts. I went to some gyms and there was creepy guys for sure, but I felt a pretty good wall. And if I felt a bad vibe, I just walk right back out the door. I didn't have any friends really in the beginning. I kind of went like, oh, this person says go here, so I went there. This person says go here, so I kind of went word of mouth and built friends that way. So I was very lucky. However, unfortunately, teaching a lot of women and hearing a lot of women's stories in the last 12 years or so, they all have had a lot of bad experiences. And I would say more than 50% of women who go to jiu-jitsu have been taken advantage of in some way, which is like unacceptable. Yeah. So I feel that I was naive but lucky. Maybe I have an angel watching over me.
Yeah, for sure.
That's how I feel like too. I think I don't know a lot of people that have been through bad experiences. Maybe with the podcast, talking to more women from different gyms, I'm gonna learn more about it. But I do know that it happens. Like we all know that it happens in different places. We hear on social media sometimes people coming out with stories like that. And thankfully, I think we had, me and Shay, we have been at the same gym for a while. Even my gym in Brazil, like I never had a bad experience. But I also know that we're lucky, right? Like you said, we have probably angels over us that thankfully didn't let us to places like this. But it's a good thing just to open the eyes of women. Like if you do feel a bad vibe like the way you did, just walk away. Don't stay in that place. It's not for you. There's so many gyms out there. You are going to find somewhere that it's better. And if you like to travel, there, like we said, there's the downside of like not knowing a lot of people that could help you with that. But always go on social media, like always trying to find girls. I always tell people, like, if there is higher belts on that gym, if it's not a new gym, if it's an old gym and there are higher belt women there, that's a good sign, because they wouldn't stay there if it's not safe. Unless it's a new gym, then it's normal not to have a lot of people that are higher belts. So I think like paying attention to those little details, that could save you a lot of trouble and a lot of problems.
And I think that wall.
Yes, that wall too.
Yeah.
I think that wall really, really helps. It's just like, the whole, if you're walking down the street, don't put your head down, right? You look at whoever you're crossing. Yeah. And I think that's kind of the same concept of having that wall of, like I'm here for jiu-jitsu and I'm only here for jiu-jitsu. I'm not here necessarily to make a bunch of friends with a bunch of guys, right? I think it's huge. And not to say that you're not friendly, but I think you kind of have to establish that at front. And then be there for a moment, and then you can kind of start like, okay, like I've been here for a minute. I know who I can kind of like play around with and have it not be taken wrong, right? Yeah. I don't know. That's how I feel.
I think it's unfortunate though, because I had this conversation the other day with like masculine and feminine energy. And I feel like so much like this joke even happened here in Mexico. One of the guys is like, oh, Heather's gay. And I went to the open mat the other day and I was like, hey bud. In front of everyone, I was like, I heard I'm gay. And he was like, oh. And I was like, man, that sucks, because like I would really like to be like, I also have a very feminine side. I have a girly side. Like I love to do my hair and my makeup. My job also is to do eyebrows. And it sucks that I have to have that energy to be safe. Be safe. Yes. And this is is like, I think because I started jiu-jitsu later in life also saved me, because maybe as a younger me, I in London one time, one of the professors is like, oh, will you come to my class? And I was like, sure. And he's like, it's the 7 a.m. And I was like, oh man, I'm in the Wilson Green. Like I'm in the really far subway station. I can't make it. I would have to wake up at like 5:30. And he was like, okay, I'll pick you up. And for me, being like from a small town in Idaho, I was like, that's so nice. Wow. And he's like, yeah, I'll pick you up in like an hour. And I was like, the class is tomorrow, And he was like, oh, you can stay in the gym with me. Like, shit. Yeah. This is, I got a lot of that all the time. And I always had to be like, no, thank you. Like, no, thank you. And like part of the time I would just be like rude, like laugh at them. Yeah. Because like, why are you trying to take this like PowerPoint, like a professor in a university, and use it to like establish some sort of like, what is it, like, I don't know, manipulation. Yes. Yes. And sorry, I haven't had enough coffee this morning.
You're fine. It's me all the time.
And so like those examples like happened to me a lot. And then if I didn't respond, they would say things about me like, oh, the Heather must be this or Heather must be that. And I'm like, I want to be me. like I would like to be me, who I can be with my real friends, like my best friends in Idaho, the girls I grew up with. I would like to be that person in the gym, but I don't get it. And that sucks because I feel like I can't always be my true authentic self always, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and if you think about it, every time that men get like turned down, I don't know if that's the right expression, but they will say something about you. Like, oh, there's no reason why Heather would not want to sleep in the gym with me. She must be lesbian, because why would she say no to me? You know? So they start making that like mind game to make you feel bad. And maybe you think like, oh no, like I'm not. So I'm going to go and like prove to him that I'm fine with it. And I'm going to go and I'm going to sleep there. And then something happens to you. So
yes, exactly.
Yeah. So I think it's like really, really important to keep. And you saying that you were older and then like that helped, probably being a young person, they would have that thought of like, I have nothing like to lose. This guy's really being really nice. You don't see the other side of it. So I'm just going to go. Like what's going to happen? And that's when shit happens. So.
Yep. That's when.
Yeah.
Well, and also just being aware of your situation, you know, at all times. Like hasn't anything to do with jiu-jitsu, but I used to do like bartending at like events, right? And I'm always a knucklehead and doing just stupid stuff. And so I parked my car in LA in a parking garage that got shut down at 11, so I couldn't get my car out when I got done with my shift. And so anyhow, I knew these guys and they're like, well, we have a hotel, we're gonna leave tomorrow, you can come, like you know, don't have any other options. Basically, I didn't have my purse, I didn't have like anything because everything was in my car.
Oh, dang.
And so I was like, okay, I'll do that. Can you call Heidi, who like they also knew, and I knew them, but still being just, you have two guys in a hotel room that you have to go now sleep in, right? And so there's just little things of like, oh, you could take the bed. No, it's okay, I'll sleep on the floor, I'm fine. You know what I mean? And it's just making sure that you're putting yourself up in like a very guarded position, even if they are your friends. You know what I mean? Because I don't know. You just, as a woman, you have to.
Most people that get sexually assaulted or raped, it's by a family member. So you don't trust friends, you don't trust anybody. It's really bad that we have to be this way, but you can't. You just can't, because after it happens, it's over. Like there's nothing you can do about it. So it's better to be safe than sorry. It's really, really hard, all the little things that we have to do and have to be worried about, but it's better like that. That's what's could save you, you know.
They say like it's like 80 or 90% of women get assaulted by someone that they know. And unfortunately, and this is the funny part too, is like I feel confident walking down the street in Mexico to protect myself against a stranger, right? Like, but the people that I surround myself with are like capable of killing someone. Like they're, you know, building themselves into machines. And so you really have to be careful in your environment, especially in jiu-jitsu, because if you surround yourself by these people, yes, you're safer in the street with strangers. Like anyone who's walking down the street right now, I could take on that dude or that dude. But in the gym, no, for sure, no. Because even if they're a black belt and I'm so much more technically sound and they're like a purple or a brown and they're, you know, 95 kilos, I can't beat them up. Like I can't. It's just there's like testosterone, bone density, strength, weight, muscle, everything, you know?
Yes.
Somebody had said that, right? Babby, in one of the podcasts, like even if you're the same stature, that it's almost, they have 20 pounds on you. At least 20 pounds on you, even if they're the same stature, being a male. It's a huge difference.
No, I would say so much more. Like there's a guy, Osa Atos, and he is 125, and I think he's more technically advanced than me. He's super good. He's a world champion in no-gi, and he and in his 30s he's an adult world champion. He I feel like he's so much stronger than even it would be like 100 pound, like a woman who's 100 pounds bigger than me. Same technical. Like I just feel his strength so much more, and he's smaller than me.
Yeah, I feel that a lot too. I mean, I don't have a huge experience on jiu-jitsu, but I feel when I'm training with somebody. And also I see on my husband, for example, he's really small, but like he's playing with me. I know he's not even using strength. And it's like I can't move. And then sometimes I tell him, I'm like, go a little harder. Like, I want to feel like it. And then we will fight because he goes way too hard. And he's like, I'm not even going hard on you. And you're already getting mad. And I'm like, okay, I understand now. And it totally makes sense. Like, you can't beat a guy blue belt, purple belt if they have a little bit of technique, because they'll have way more strength on top of it.
So this is hilarious.
I can still beat them. All you blue belts.
Yeah.
So,
well,
maybe
so
prodigy belts, but those are excluded. Yeah. But any like blue belt, like no.
So
scary to me.
Yeah.
My husband, he's been a blue belt for a really long time, just because of our life and whatnot. And so he's taken a hiatus for the last 3 years, Babby?
Probably.
And so he's about to come back, and I have my purple now, and I've been going, a lot lately. And he goes, okay, I'm going to come back. And if we go against each other and you're about to get me, I'm not going to let you. And I'm just going to body slam you onto the mat and be a gorilla and just letting you know you're not going to get it. I was like, hey.
I love it too, I guess.
I know. Anyhow, it's just
funny.
True of men.
It's real life.
And then gi or no gi, I don't care.
Yeah.
Just blast a heel hook on your husband.
Yeah.
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 He has fake ankles. I don't know if I want to do that. I need him to work. Anyhow,
we were talking about your feminine side being a oh my god, I was trying this for 10 minutes before you came in with Shay, so I could say this word right. Esthetician. Oh, esthetician.
No, más en Portuguese. En Portuguese is esteticista.
Esteticista, yes.
Yes,
esthetician. Have you always done that? When did you start working with it? And also, I was gonna ask you when you realized you wanted to work with jiu-jitsu, but from what I understood, you have been working with jiu-jitsu since you were a blue belt, right?
No, since I was a white belt. They had me teaching class in Brazil because they were like, oh, Heather can't speak Portuguese. Well, I mean, I eventually learned some, but they put me with the babies to teach the little 3s and 4s. They're like, we don't want to deal with you. Go here. So first teaching was 4 months into white belt.
Oh, wow.
I was teaching the 3s and 4s to do the armbar, the uba escape.
The basics.
Basics, yeah. I started to travel after I finished school to be an esthetician. I went to college 4 times. And I finally just got my certificate as an esthetician because I wanted to finish something. Yeah. And I kept changing. And so I did eyebrows and I did lash extensions and I did those things also as side jobs along the way as I was traveling. Mm-hmm. I was always having something as a hustle. But in San Diego, when I was a brown belt, I started a studio with another woman in San Diego. And I was actually being for the first time in jiu-jitsu financially secure. I was teaching private lessons. I was doing amazing with the studio. I had a really good referrals, and I was competing and winning everything. And then COVID happened.
Oh no!
So
yeah,
I lost everything. I lost it all. So it was a good experience, and it taught me really how to run a business. And I had a good mentor. Her name was Isabella. She's amazing. And so I was able to do really well, teaching jiu-jitsu, doing microblading, all the things. And I had the perfect life. And then one day, gone.
That's so sad.
Yeah.
And how did you balance this work? Because we're talking about this being a statistician. It's really feminine. You're working with the face, with the eyebrows and everything. And then you go into jiu-jitsu that it's really aggressive. I think it's funny. For example, I love to do embroidery and crochet. And then when people see me from jiu-jitsu doing that, they're like, I would never imagine that you would do such a thing. And I'm like, that's so funny how people see you being aggressive at the gym, and then you take yourself out of that. That's just a portion of your life. And then you go into something that is more feminine, maybe, like an old lady. I call myself doing these little things. I love it. But like, how do you balance that from going from something really aggressive to something really feminine? Or how do you put them all together? Like, do you bring that feminine side to jiu-jitsu too?
I know my jiu-jitsu is very smashy and not feminine at all. It's not beautiful. It's not flowy. It is like it's only smash. So my jiu-jitsu and I feel like my feminine and masculine side are like super separate, and I think it's super funny because a lot of women, especially in Atos at that time, Angelica had such a huge women's class, and I would be like, let me do your eyebrows, come to my studio. It wasn't like I would beg them for like 6 months, like, hey, support me, like I help you with jiu-jitsu, just like try, you know, try my service. Finally, Angelica came, and she was the first one to be like supportive of me and my business, and she was like, oh my god, I love it. I did some microblading on her, I did a lash lift on her, I did brow lamination, and then once I did hers, everybody was like, oh, if Angelica trusts, then we finally they started coming in, because and I understood them too, because like if I'm like smashing and sweaty and gross and like this like burst of energy on the mat, like, and doing something delicate to their face, like I wouldn't trust me either. It really took a while for them, and it really took like Angelica believing in me, and then Sarah did her brows, and a couple other, like her sister and Patty and all these other women, and then it started slowly, and I was like, I told you I'm good at this. Like, but yeah, so I think I always feel pretty good in balancing it, and also I grew up with like really girly girls. Like in Idaho, my friends are very girly, and they're also estheticians as well, and they do lash extensions, and they own a spa, like them together. And so I think that's part of it, is like I know who I am with them, and I can be my authentic self, and I know who I am in jiu-jitsu, and if I feel comfortable, I can also be my authentic self. So I think it's like I don't know, it just I get to be the two parts of me.
Yeah.
So
that's great.
Yeah.
We're wondering here, working with the face and everything, what do you do to keep your face so like perfect and flawless with like jiu-jitsu? We know that we're always getting little rashes, like burning our faces on the mat, stuff happens. Like what are your tips to keep it like looking good?
So my biggest tip that I see is like immediately after I train, I go to wash my hands and my face. Like number one. I see a lot of girls that walk off the mat, maybe they're going to shower at home in 20 minutes. No, still, if you're not showering at the gym, you have to go to the restroom, wash your face with nice, not too hot water. That's number one. Number two, just have like a good skincare routine. So always like a moisturizer, rinse your face in the morning, or a light cleanser, moisturizer. You don't want to like scrub it too hard, and because you need those oils to protect your face. And then it's when you can do like a deep cleanse or an exfoliant or something like this, and then always just moisturize. Also with the hair is super hard. Like now I don't do too much like crazy things, because I'm only training once a day, sometimes twice, but I used to do conditioner first, like a sealant, and then a little bit of coconut oil over that, and then wrap it. And then you always put your hair in, like, if you put a bun this time here and then one here, sometimes you can do two, but you're not always putting it like, see how your hair is like the top bun, right? If you do this every single day, it's gonna start to pull, and then you're gonna start to get like a little bit of bald spots. So you kind of gotta move your pony around.
Oh no, I'm gonna be bald for sure. This is
her like go-to.
This is my go-to bun. Everybody sometimes sees me from my back and they're like, I know that's Babby because of the bun.
Yes, but one of my taught me this, and then and the ones that do, I always ask the hairdressers that do jiu-jitsu, because like if they don't do jiu-jitsu, they don't understand. But another one, she told me, like, so in Puerto Vallarta, I lived in PV for like the summer, and it was really sweaty, and it was, oh man, it was horrible. It was so hot. And so I'd be drenched in sweat all the way down to the tip of my hair, and you always have to rinse out that salt in the salt water, the same as when you go to the ocean. In Brazil, they always do this. Once you get out of the ocean, you put in like the conditioner in your hair and you brush your hair, right?
Yeah.
The girls do that. So something similar. It really depends where you live in the water. And a really good thing, that shit on Amazon, you can buy like a water filter for your shower, for your hair. Yeah, that's super helpful.
Nice.
Yeah,
because
all the minerals. Get them out.
Like, it does not. Jiu-Jitsu saved my life. I don't know about that.
It saved my life, messed with my hair and my face.
Yes.
Yeah.
Heather, when did you start your online coaching program, and how does that work?
Okay, awesome. I love sharing this because it's exactly what I needed when I was traveling like white to purple. If I had something like this, I feel like I could have had a lot more achievements in jiu-jitsu. Like, I do have accolades, but I feel I could have definitely had more. I had a lot of hiccups with competition, with self-doubt. I didn't even know what a strategy was until I went to Atos. And one of the girls, Heather Morgan, she was like, "Oh, what's your strategy for your competition?" And I was like, "Win." Like, what? And she was like, "Oh, like, what about this and that?" And I was like, "Oh man, I never thought about that. Like, we're supposed to prepare that?" And she's like, "Of course. What if you want to win by advantage?" And I was like, so I can't believe I learned this at purple belt. It baffles me that no one sat me down and was like, "Hey, here you go. You compete a lot every weekend. Maybe you should try this."
Yeah.
But so my program is a 9-week course. We give you all the tools that we feel that you need, the same tools that we wish that we had as white, blue, purple, and so on. I even have black belts in my program. We have a nutritionist, so she's actually a dietitian. She's from Morelia, and her name's Andy. Morelia is in the state of Michoacan. I think I say that right. Yeah. And it's, sorry, I have a little bit of a cold. It's very cold here.
No worries.
And she went to school for 5 years, and then she does her internship. So unlike a lot of nutritionists in the States, well, not in the States, in California, we'll just say California, they get like a 6-month course. Then they go on Instagram, they find a generic plan, and they look really hot in short shorts, and they give you something that they say will work for you in jiu-jitsu, and it doesn't work. First off, 1,600 calories is not what you need to eat when you are doing competition training. The training in Atos, for example, and in a lot of competition teams is about 2.5 hours. If you only eat 1,600 calories, you're an active person, you're in a deficit all day, always. Yeah. Your body like killing itself. It's horrible. Like, that's what I eat one meal. I mean, I love food, but still, as an athlete, you need to have proper carbs, proper protein, and fats as well. And so when you're on a diet of 2 eggs, a rice cake, a tuna fish salad, and I don't know what some of these diet plans are, but this is horrible. Yeah. Not sufficient. This does not have the nutrients. Like, so many of my clients, I have to tell them, like, eat food, eat real food. Like, you need it and you're gonna burn it. So if you feel like, oh, okay, I ate too much, do 2 more rounds. Like, train,
burn it a little more.
Yes, exactly. So Andy makes a meal plan that suits you. So it's not a generic meal plan. She would say, like, oh, what do you like to eat? Do you like brigadeiro? Do you like, tacos? What do you like to eat? And she'll help you find stuff that fits those food profiles, right? Mm-hmm. And we also have Electron Performance is the strength and conditioning that we use. This is Andre Galvao use, Kainan Duarte, Dumbbell, a lot of high level guys, and a lot of guys from other teams as well. They have the app. The same app that we use for our clients as well. You have access to Alex Sterner, who is incredibly skilled in all things that are for not only jiu-jitsu, he's a brown belt, but for lifting just in general. Also for PT, injury prevention. And then, of course, I do your video analysis. We talk about your strategy. We talk about your schedule, how you balance life. Like, life is hard. If you're a mom, like, I feel like, Shay, did I see a child over there?
Yeah.
If you're a dog mom, if you have hobbies, like, if you're a dad, the program's for men as well. Like, it's for everyone. I've had a lot of really great guys do really well. Even MMA fighters, 2 MMA fighters did my program and have been very successful, winning all of their fights. So
that's awesome.
It can be for someone who's a hobbyist, for a competitor. A thing I really like to do is if someone's running a program and they feel they need a little extra help, maybe they're like a satellite school, or their professor asked them, run the women's program, run the beginners program, a new step, you're now in charge of the advanced program. Like, can help them build a curriculum, talk about things to teach and why to teach, different learning styles. Not everyone learns the same.
Yeah.
I'm visual, so like if someone tells me to do something, I'm like, what? I'm like, what are you saying? Yeah. So all of that. And we also have the option of Jiggy Yoon, who is the best thing that has ever happened to my competition. As a brown belt, she was my mental coach, and she's also an addition to our program, and she is leaps and bounds and how I feel about myself and how I compete. And having her, I won everything. Mm-hmm. Now I lose some, so that for Brasileiros, I'm gonna hire her back for myself again. I'm gonna win it. I want that title.
That's awesome. What are the most common mistakes you think that people commit when they're preparing for competition? What you have seen with your clients and maybe even with the people at your gym, like overall talking about training, lifting. We talked about the nutrition that you said, like it's some people think that they don't have to eat a lot of food, but they do when they're preparing, and also the mental aspect. Like, what are the most common mistakes you've seen?
One big thing is either burnout or not sufficient training, like, or not training correctly. Let's say, not training correctly. Like, sometimes people train harder, not smarter. So when you have less time, for example, you're a mom or a dad or a businessman or something, and you only have a few days, but you're going in and you're just doing the technique, and then you're doing like 2 rolls and going home, that's not sufficient for competition. Yeah. Let's say you're injured, you can still do drills, you can still find other ways. Case studies are huge. Studying opponents, studying people who have similar body types to you. That's a big thing. Another thing is like I said, is burnout. Is a lot of people who have who compete have a similar personality to me. I used to burn out all the time, where I would just overdo myself until I would get sick. I would get a migraine. I would get injured, tear my knee or shoulder, something. And so those are huge. Having the specific and correct schedule is very important. Having the right macros for your body is super important. A lot of people are not eating enough protein, and there's tons of ways that you can eat protein. Vegetarians eat enough protein. There's a lot of ways. You just have to know like correctly how to do it. And then like negative self-talk. People talk shit about themselves more than they talk shit about anyone else. And it really sucks, because like I feel like everyone is really good in their own way. Everyone's beautiful in their own way. Like, we're sitting here putting others down, putting ourselves down. Like, this is something that has to change for everyone. Yeah. So those are the main things.
That's awesome. How important it is that you see this 101, and what's the biggest difference too? Because there is the 101 coaching online, for example, that you do on like working on that. And there is the 101, the private lessons that you also do with some of your clients there in Mexico, and that you did when you were here. What are like the biggest pros for that? Like for people to look out for that? And what's the biggest difference in doing it in person and doing it online on your point of view?
So I think in person, I teach more like technique. And I teach more like, okay, I watch them train, I train with them. I see what they can do, or I show them that that's something that I love to do. And then in the program, I think is more like holistic, like it's all everything. So when I teach a private lesson, I don't ask them like, what do you eat? What do you do? If they want me to, we can talk about that a little bit for sure. But normally I just teach them with technique. I think anyone, if they can afford to do a private lesson, I highly, with their professor, with someone in their gym, like I highly recommend this. I think that a lot of times people think jiu-jitsu is free, but it's our time, you know? So like anytime I'll go somewhere, especially when I could afford it, I would be like, oh, one of the guys in Atos, can I do a private lesson with you? I have a tournament coming up. I want to work on this. And it was really, really helpful for me. So I highly recommend that. I think, like I said, the program is just like all encompassing. So I can see really all the spots that you might need a little bit of assistance and teach you how to train smarter and utilize these different tools to be the best you can be in the gym.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And you said that whoever's listening to this podcast get a little discount on your program?
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much for having me on the show. And we wanted to do a little promo. So anyone who is listening to this podcast, just anywhere in the forum, there's like a doc forum, just anywhere you can write the BJJHOOD podcast. It should say like, how did you hear about us? Then I'm going to give you $75 off the program. The program is super affordable. It's not one of these like $3,000. No, it's in everyone's price range. We have plans from $699 to $1,049 for the whole 9 weeks, including the nutritionist, which is normally just in itself like $350, and including the strength and conditioning program, and including everything. And the highest price one is with Jiggy as well. So I really think it's super beneficial. It's like so much bang for your buck. Like I said, you get the $75 off if you mention these beautiful ladies podcast.
Yeah.
So just to finish now, we like to ask people, what's BJJHOOD for you?
Ooh, I think that from what I've heard, I love that you're out here talking about things that not only women, but everyone in jiu-jitsu really wants to hear and talk about. And I think that you're bringing a nice, fresh approach to it. So I love your podcast, and I can't wait to hear all the episodes you have, and the one coming before me too. I'm excited because people. So.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Heather. Thank you for taking your time again, talking to us today, sharing a little bit about your life. We love to meet you online. Hopefully we will meet in person sometime soon.
Yes.
Come to Mexico.
Yes, I would love to train some jiu-jitsu, eat some tacos.
Yeah, that would be a fun little
dream vacation.
Babby, we're right here.
Let's do it. I'm down. We'll do it.
All right.
Awesome. If you're listening to this podcast, make sure you check Heather program. It might help you a lot with your jiu-jitsu journey. She got that discount for us, so make sure you hit her up. Share this episode with a friend that you think that might like to hear her story and that can get something from our conversation today. Make sure you're following us on Instagram and YouTube, where we have subtitles in Portuguese, and follow us on your favorite podcast platform. All of our episodes come out on Thursdays, so you don't want to miss that. I will see you next week. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening. Would you like to share your story? Email us at bjjhoodpodcast@gmail.com. You can also follow us on Instagram at BJJHOOD Podcast.